3 Sinister True Student Tales, Unexplained Horrors Revealed from Haunted Campuses. The air crackled with dread at Crestwood University, a forgotten institution cloaked in whispers of darkness. A chilling night defied logic as shadows slithered across the quad, where unseen eyes watched. Jordan, a restless sociology major, gripped their books tightly, heart pounding like a drum in their chest. They couldn't shake the feeling that something lurked just out of sight, feeding their anxiety with each step echoing against the damp pavement. It was said that many years ago, a revered professor had vanished without a trace, swallowed whole by the night. Stories tangled like vines in the minds of students, growing more grotesque with every telling. As Jordan crossed under the flickering street lamps, shivering at the idea of being alone, they could almost hear the professor's ghost calling from the shadows, pulling them deeper into the unknown. On the opposite side of campus, Maya, an art student with an eye for all things macabre, found herself standing before the decaying walls of Morrison Hall. The once vibrant dormitory now stood a ghostly carcass, half-remembered laughter echoing within. The night felt alive, as if beckoning her closer. Inside, the walls whispered secrets of the past. Distorted portraits hung like taunts, murky eyes trailing her every move. Each canvas held the souls of students who vanished. She felt their despair seep through the brushstrokes, tugging at her sanity. "Just your imagination, Maya," her friends would say, but she could feel it, the presence watching her, stalking her thoughts. Then there was Ethan, an enthusiastic freshman caught in a web of digital torment. Every ping from his phone sliced like a blade through his confidence. The online abuse spiraled grotesquely, laughter echoed from so-called friends who reveled in his demise. As the taunts reached a fever pitch, Ethan began to uncover chilling connections, dark tales of disappearances linked to his tormentors, hints whispered in corners by students who knew too much. Each revelation deepened the icy grip of fear that tightened around him, like a noose drawing slowly, painfully, tighter. Just as their paths drew nearer, a thick fog rolled in from the forest beyond the campus, a tangible, suffocating terror. Everyone, even the buildings, seemed to hold their breath. Jordan, clutching their books like a lifeline, suddenly felt the weight of history pressing against them. They needed answers, but the fear stung sharper than the words they sought. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the clock struck midnight, a power outage blacked out the campus. The world morphed into complete darkness. Shadows stretched hungrily, and the temperature dropped. An unseen chill gripped the trio as their paths intertwined unknowingly. The air thickened with silent screams of the past, vibrant and undeniable. Was it merely folklore, or was the predator they all feared lurking closer, watching their every move? A prickling sensation wormed its way into their hearts as they realized they had begun to uncover the truth about Crestwood University, and the horrifying secrets were just beginning to unfold. The darkness was alive. Jordan could feel it scrape against their skin, turning their blood to ice. They stumbled through the oppressive fog, books clutched as if they were a shield against the creeping dread. Each step was deafening, a relentless echo in the silence. "This can't be happening," they whispered to themselves, a feeble mantra against the mounting terror. Maya, meanwhile, felt a strange pull from the depths of Morrison Hall. The building loomed, twisted and ominous, and without realizing it, her feet carried her closer. The air around her pulsated with unease, as if the walls were breathing, whispering tales of horror long forgotten. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, flickering just beyond the edge of perception. A sudden crash echoed from within, sending a chill racing down her spine. "Who's there?" she called, her voice trembling, barely audible amidst the suffocating darkness. No answer, only silence, thick and suffocating. Then came the softest sound, a laugh, faint and cruel, rippling through the stillness. It was high-pitched and echoed with malice. Maya's heart raced. Panic clawed at her throat as she turned back toward the entrance, only to find the door slammed shut, sealing her inside. Ethan, chained to his phone, felt the world outside melting away. The notifications continued unabated, relentless voices mocking him as shadows flickered on his screen. He wanted to scream, to toss the device away, yet part of him needed to know why they followed him so mercilessly. Each message felt like a dagger, serrated edges cutting deeper. A name flashed on his screen: Professor Hargrove. He'd heard the stories, the whispers about the dark fates of those who dared to defy the professor's legacy. But why was his name now haunting him through a glowing screen? Ethan's pulse quickened. He typed frantically, searching for something, anything, to reveal the truth. The weight of 1,000 eyes pressed heavily. He was being watched. Suddenly, the light in his quad flickered, and for an instant, everything was illuminated. A figure stood before him, a tall silhouette with a familiar posture. It was Professor Hargrove. Ethan froze, his breath hitching. The ghost seemed to flicker like a faulty light, its features indistinct but still captivating. Then, like smoke, it dissipated back into the shadows, swallowed by the darkness once more. Simultaneously, Maya felt the energy shift around her. The laughter had transformed into whispers. "Help us!" They echoed from the walls, pulling at her sanity. "Find us!" Her hands trembled. She couldn't stay here. But the door was still locked. Had she even tried it? Desperation surged inside Jordan. They had to find their friends. Their breaths mingled into chilling echoes as they called out for Maya and Ethan, each name a lifeline tossed into the void. But the thick fog swallowed their voices, wrapping around them like a shroud. Were their friends already lost to the lurking darkness, just like the students before them? A sudden flicker of light cut through the gloom, a glimmer from a nearby window. Jordan stumbled toward it, hoping to find answers, praying it wasn't an illusion. But one thing was sure: the shadows held more secrets than any of them had bargained for. As they stepped closer to the light, a chilling laugh resonated in the air and the ground beneath them began to shake. What else awaited them in the shadows of Crestwood? Jordan's heart pounded like a drum. The shaking ground wasn't just an earthquake, it felt like something alive was moving beneath the surface, a hungry predator disturbed from its slumber. Panic surged through them as the laughter echoed louder, a taunting melody that twisted the air into a vice around their chest. They pressed on, drawn to the light glimmering ahead, each step a desperate grasping at hope. The fog shifted, swirling with a life of its own, blocking their view of what lay ahead. The air felt thick, like molasses, clinging to their skin, suffocating and suffused with dread. Meanwhile, Maya had finally found the door, but a thick fog had risen around it, a palpable wall of shadows. As she pushed against it, she screamed for Ethan and Jordan. "Please!" Her voice cracked, fear lacing her words. "Someone! Let me out!" The whispers grew louder, surfacing out of the walls, spelling a chilling plea in her ears. But the whispers shifted again, darker, more sinister. "Join us!" they hissed. "You can't leave, not yet." She could feel her courage wither under the weight of their ominous chant. Clenching her fists, she fought against the dread clutching her stomach, willing herself to remain grounded. She needed to find a way out before it was too late. Ethan's screen flickered again, images flashing too quickly to comprehend. Desperation clawed at him, but the image of Professor Hargrove anchored him, a dark reminder of the looming danger. He felt the chill of the professor's gaze penetrating through the digital glass. "Get away from it," a voice warned, but Ethan couldn't tear his gaze from the glowing screen. Then, a sudden darkness enveloped him, everything became muted and distant. He lurched back, the air thick and suffocating, as something within him screamed for the truth. "What do you want?" He managed between breaths, feeling as if the shadows were tightening around his throat, trying to drag him down into the depths. In that moment, the screen blinked once more, revealing a single, chilling message: "They need you." And then, as abruptly as his fear had surged, it was replaced by an eerie calm. The shadows grew still, whispering promises of revelations. There was a path he could choose, but the cost loomed over his head like a guillotine's blade. Back near Morrison Hall, Jordan's eyes were fixed on the light, every ounce of dread overshadowed by a flicker of hope. But as they neared the source, they stopped dead, heart racing. There was no light, just a small, cracked window beckoning them, shattered and grimy. Ice crept into their veins, and as they caught their breath, the chilling laughter morphed into guttural growls, throwing their mind into chaos. Instinctively, Jordan looked behind, the shadows behind them coiling like serpents, whispering venomous tales of past despair. They felt a tightening in their throat, a primal urge to flee, but their feet felt glued to the ground. "Help us!" The voices continued to rise, overwhelming in their insistence. "Find the others." Jordan blinked, and for a fleeting moment, the atmosphere transformed. The shadows shifted, almost forming distinct shapes, faces twisted in anguish. Was it too late for them? The ground beneath them trembled again, and a roar flooded the air as if something long imprisoned was fighting for freedom. It was a moment of false hope, a second where they believed they could escape. But before they could react, the floor split, jagged cracks yawning open like a gaping maw. "Jordan!" Voices called out, but the sound was swallowed by the abyss. Easily distracted by panic, they jerked their head. Was that Ethan's voice mingling with the wails? In that terrifying moment, choices loomed like shadows. Would they stand frozen, lost in fear, or fight back against the darkness consuming them? And as the chasm widened beneath them, they finally took a step forward. But would it be toward salvation, or the very depths of despair? What else waited below, hidden among the echoes of lost souls? The earth roared beneath them, pulling at the threads of their sanity. As the chasm yawned wider, a force gripped Jordan's heart, propelling them forward despite the terror roaring in their ears. With a gasp, they leaped, propelled by instinct rather than thought, landing on the jagged edge of the fissure just as shadowy hands clawed desperately upward, begging for escape. "Jordan!" Ethan's voice cut through the chaos, sharp as broken glass. The adrenaline surged in response, a bitter fire in their veins. They squinted into the swirling fog, desperate to catch a glimpse of Ethan beyond the wailing shadows. The dim light coalesced into phantoms, faces stretched in agony, mouths moving silently as if caught in a cursed echo of their last breaths. "Maya!" Jordan screamed back, urgency propelling them further into the madness. Shadows closed in, curling around their legs like tiring serpents, urging them to join the lost souls. For a heartbeat, they staggered, the ground rumbling, the abyss echoing with a deep hunger that seemed to beckon them, inviting them to join the dance of despair. The laughter escalated, ringing hollow through the air, wrapped around them like chains. It wasn't just noise, it was a malicious song, one that tapped into their deepest fears, twisting memories of laughter, friendship, and light into dark, twisted hallucinations. Each laugh felt like a dagger, digging deeper into Jordan's resolve. "Find the others," a voice whispered from somewhere close, echoing the message, but whose voice was it? Was it a warning or an arrangement? Doubt gnawed at them, making their skin crawl. "Jordan!" Ethan's voice was sharper this time, growing frantic. "We have to go. Now." But Jordan hesitated, teetering on the edge, eyes transfixed on the hollow-eyed specters rising like a tide, clawing at the air. Something primal instinctively rallied within them. They couldn't abandon hope, not when both friends were still missing. The darkness was reaching for Ethan now, tendrils of shadow wrapping around him, pulling him back. "Run!" Ethan shouted again, his face pale and terrified. Jordan took a breath, filling their lungs with the dirty, damp air, and finally made a choice. "I'm coming." They jumped back towards the chasm, adrenaline fueling their senses as they barely caught Ethan's arm, hauling him close just as a shadow whipped past them like a gust of wind. "Stop looking at them!" Ethan yelled, fear splattering his words. "They want you to stay." The shadows roared back, the laughter mingling with growls, their orchestrated cacophony rising to an unbearable crescendo. Jordan slammed their eyes shut, unwilling to let the phantoms shift their focus. "Let us go." They pulled Ethan towards the staircase that spiraled up into darkness, the way they had originally emerged from their only chance for survival. The fog thickened, trying to claw them back, but they pushed against the nauseating pressure. Once they reached the stairs, they faced Maya at last. She was trapped behind a barrier of darkness, eyes wide with fear and despair. "I can't see the way out." Her voice trembled, touched by a desperation that resonated deep within Jordan. "There's a door right there." Ethan pointed, struggling to keep his footing against the thrumming chaos as shadows lashed at them. "No!" Maya protested, terror making her voice shrill. "It's a trap. They want us to split up." But Jordan had already the voices shifting again, this time faint and pleading. "Join us." Those whispers twisted through the dark like threads of silk wrapping tighter. "You're one of us." Something crystalline shattered inside Jordan. They didn't have time. "We're not leaving you." The words were fierce but steeped in doubt. What if they failed? What if the decision meant all of their doom? The walls pulsated around them as the abyss echoed its call. Jordan, propelled by defiance, pushed the cracked door open, the chilling air gusting out, swirling pockets of mists that curled around them hungrily. "Now!" Jordan urged, holding both of their hands tightly, but as they stepped into the doorway, the shadows began to shriek, a furious chorus. It was a release, a terrible and exhilarating release. Jordan stepped into nothingness, and the world fell away. Fingers brushed against them, and just as quickly, it felt as if the ground fell hard from beneath their feet. What awaited them in the unknown realm beyond? The air was different here, thicker, nearly suffocating. As the darkness swallowed them whole, Jordan felt an unsettling stillness invade their senses. No sounds of shadows clawing, no laughter piercing through the void. Just an oppressive silence that vibrated in their ears, a silence that crushed against their chests like a tangible weight. "Ethan. Maya. Are you okay?" Panic laced Jordan's voice, but no words came in response. There was only the echo of their own call, bouncing off unseen walls. They squeezed their eyes tight, willing the fear that crept up their spine to recede. The darkness was alive, whispering fears, feeding on their dread. A flicker of light appeared, distant and faint. It danced like a dying flame, pulling Jordan toward it against every instinct, screaming for them to turn back. Each step felt like wading through sludge, the shadows snaking around their ankles, whispering promises of peace if only they would surrender. "Stay with me," Jordan called out, trying to summon the courage to push forward, to reach that flickering hope. They could barely see their own hands in front of them, but they could feel Ethan's presence, close, desperately clinging just out of sight. Suddenly, a hand, cold, clammy and familiar, wrapped around Jordan's wrist. "I'm here," Ethan rasped, his breath paper-thin. "What is this place?" "I don't know," Jordan admitted, heart hammering. "But we have to keep moving." They turned back towards the light, now growing brighter, but heavy shadows loomed in the corners of their vision, darker and more menacing than before. The laughter was returning. Quiet and sneering, it mingled with soft sobbing that bounced eerily off the walls. Maya emerged next, stumbling into view, pale as a ghost. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, wide-eyed with terror. "We need to get out of here." But the light ahead pulsed with an almost magnetic quality, drawing them closer. The sobbing turned into manic wails intertwined with laughter, and Jordan's stomach churned. They fought against the chill creeping through their bones, almost paralyzed by the cacophony. "We can't stop. We have to," Jordan stammered, but before they could finish, the light flickered violently, casting dancing shadows that clawed and twisted in ways both unfamiliar and horrifying. Then it happened. An echoing roar erupted from the darkness, blending the weeping and laughter together into a singular, horrifying cadence. The source of the noise came ever closer, threatening to envelop them whole. The air thickened, vibrating with a dark energy that seemed to swirl around them, tightening like a vice. "Run!" Ethan shouted, pulling Jordan along, his grip unyielding. They sprinted towards the pulsating light, heartbeats thundering in a rhythm of sheer survival, but it felt like the walls were closing in, the darkness condensing, reaching for them. As they neared the light, their surroundings began to shift. Shadows slithered away, revealing fragments of a room long forgotten, broken chairs, dust-laden desks, the remnants of a classroom consumed by darkness. The smell of mold and decay flooded over them. Is this a school? Maya's voice trembled, eyes scanning the eerie remnants, recognition dawning amidst the dread. Before Jordan could respond, something dashed between them, quick, shadowy, and indecipherable. A figure? A trick of the light? They froze, bodies coiling with tension as the world around them twisted unnaturally. They were not alone in this abyss. Go! We need to get to that door. Jordan yelled, urgency bursting through their fear. But just as they moved, the door splintered with grotesque laughter, an echoing jeer that snatched the air from their lungs. It was a trap. What do they want from us? Ethan panted, his eyes wild with confusion and fear. I don't know. But we can't stay here. Jordan's voice broke, certainty slipping away as the shadows began to converge, whispers growing louder, demanding. Their hearts raced, and sweat dripped as they turned, desperate to find an escape amid the chaos. The light flashed one last time, illuminating a semblance of a figure in the corner, a semblance of a child, grinning with hollow eyes, beckoning them closer. Join us, it echoed, a sweet yet sinister melody. Jordan felt the floor tremble beneath their feet, the darkness thrumming with life, an invitation they could not ignore. But as the past collided with the present, they couldn't shake the feeling that this realm wouldn't let them leave. Maybe staying was the only way to survive. As Jordan stumbled backward, the laughter erupted again, louder this time, primal and shattering. For a heartbeat, they stood suspended, contemplating surrender. What would they choose? The shadows surged forward, hungry for their decision. The shadows lunged, stretching and twisting, eager to envelop them. Jordan's heart raced, instinct screaming to run. Let us go! Jordan shouted, voice breaking. They tore away from the beckoning figure, forcing themselves deeper into the decaying classroom. The walls pulsed, the despair of long-gone students whispering their own warnings. Where to? Maya gasped, panic rising. Her eyes darted like a trapped animal unable to find its exit. Over there. Jordan pointed at a cracked window just behind a toppled chair. Sunlight, though feeble, still fought to seep through the grime, a fragile promise of safety. As they sprinted toward it, the shadows recoiled momentarily, as if unsure of their own solidity. Jordan caught a glimpse of the child's face again, a toothy grin, eyes like dark wells. It was a haunting memory that clawed at their mind, urging them to recall the laughter they had heard. It was so familiar. No. Jordan shouted, shaking their head as if the action could cast away the terror. Reality began to fracture, the classroom morphing to reveal flashes of events long buried, yells of children, the scent of burnt chalk. The laughter wrapped around them again, pinching at their sanity. Don't look back. Ethan urged, eyes darting as if expecting the darkness to swallow them whole any second. But curiosity tugged at Jordan's mind. They caught a flicker of movement behind them, a swirl of shadows congealed into a figure. It seemed to be forming into an adult, dressed in a tattered, long-forgotten teacher's outfit, the face obscured, yet its presence radiated authority, twisted by something sinister. A sudden scream tore through the air, slicing the tension, and it was clear the sounds were becoming increasingly real. A chorus of children. Can you hear that? Maya cried, eyes wide. It sounds like they're don't, Jordan interjected sharply, forcing themselves to focus ahead. We have to keep moving. With urgency fueling them, they reached the base of the window. A low growl resonated from the depths of the shadows, vibrating through the floor like an earthquake. Help me! Maya yelled, grabbing the sill, but hesitation wrapped around her like a suffocating blanket. It's now or never. Jordan cried, trying to hoist Maya up and squeezing through behind her. Ethan followed closely, but they were slower, too much fear weighing them down. Just as Maya's legs swung through the opening, a scratching, clawing sound erupted from the darkness, nails on wood flooring. Jordan froze, the last fragments of safety slipping through their fingers. "Get out! Get out!" Jordan gasped, pushing Ethan ahead, desperate to avoid the shadowy force fighting to reclaim its prey. Maya tumbled out, rolling into sunlight, relief washing over her face. "I made it! I made it!" she shouted, hardly aware of the danger erupting behind them. Jordan felt the pull of the darkness like a predator lunging. They turned back for a fleeting moment. That grinning child stood in the classroom doorway, eyes gleaming with an emptiness that threatened to swallow their soul. "Join us," it crooned again, words slithering through the air, weaving despair into their hearts. Then, with a heavy jolt, Jordan's foot caught the edge of the window frame. They felt themselves tipping backward into safety, but Shadow's limbs seemed to reach out with uncanny speed. Time stretched. Now it was too slow, every second haunted by the piercing laughter. "Jordan!" Ethan shouted, waiting outside as fear distorted his features. "Jump!" With a final heaving breath, Jordan pushed off the sill, launching into the blinding light just as darkness surged and pounced. They landed hard, laying sprawled on the cool grass, gasping for air. But as they scrambled to their feet, confusion clawed at their minds. Where was Maya? Where's Maya? Jordan turned to Ethan, panic latching onto their voice. He was staring back at the now quiet window, face pale as the light turned strange and twisted, shadows remaining as if refusing to dissipate. "Did she come out?" he whispered, eyes wide. Their hearts sank. The school loomed behind, much taller. Now as if the darkness was reassembling itself. "Maybe she," Jordan began, terror creeping in. But a voice echoed from inside, childlike and insistent. "Join us." The shadows writhed, claiming the edges with a feral joy, promising to keep their secrets safe forever. As dread sank in thick as fog, a decision loomed: would they go back, or would they leave Maya behind, swallowed whole by the darkness? And at that moment, they both felt the suffocating weight of the school's grip, drawn once again to the haunting beckoning of the lost. But before they could decide, a new laughter erupted. They turned, eyes wide, as a new shadow curved towards them, unmistakably human, a new arrival from their nightmares. Who else would join the chorus? The shadows twisted unnaturally, and Jordan's heart sank. "What is that?" they muttered, fingers trembling. Relief had been short-lived, the warmth of sunlight fading under the threat of another darkness. Ethan's breath quickened. "I don't know, but we can't stay here." He was right, they were exposed. The whispers grew louder, echoing from within the school's crumbling walls. Jordan glanced back at the window, where the silhouette of Maya had merged with the darkness, an image forever etched in their mind. "Maybe we can still save her." Jordan's voice shook with desperation. The pull was unbearable, agony gnawing at them as they wrestled with cold indecision. Could they really leave her? "Look!" Ethan gestured at the school's entrance where new shadows danced, flickering in and out of view. "We have to move now." They turned away from the dread-filled window and bolted toward the trees lining the schoolyard. Each step felt like running on quicksand. The laughter echoed again, this time mocking, taunting. "Join us!" floated through the air like a dark melody, coiling around their minds. Jordan forced themselves to keep moving, energy draining with every pulse of fear. "We need to find another way in. There might be a back door or something," they said, trying to mask their panic with determination. As they crossed the grassy expanse, the sunlight did little to alleviate the chill snake creeping down their spines. The laughter morphing into cries that felt heartbreakingly familiar. Faces swam in Jordan's mind, lost, hopeless, and pleading. "What if Maya?" Ethan breathed, trailing off, unable to finish the thought. Wouldn't he have to? They both felt the weight of unspoken fears pressing down on their chests. Behind them, the school seemed to breathe, each shudder resonating through the earth. Shadows shifted closer, swirling around them in a dance of chaos. The familiar child's face appeared again in the periphery, its grin sharper, more predatory now. "We should check the entrance," Jordan suggested, almost pleading. "There might be a chance to stop." Ethan shouted, cutting through the words, his panic morphing into anger. "What if more of them are hiding? We can't just walk in blindly. How much time do we have?" Jordan countered, eyes darting. What if she's in there?" Clenching his fists, Ethan took a deliberate, measured breath. "Maybe we can lure it out. It's hunting, right? Just like the others." Heart pounding, Jordan nodded. "How?" As silence enveloped them, an unexpected idea ignited. "We'll make noise. Draw them away. It might distract the shadows long enough to get back inside." "Are you serious?" Ethan's eyes widened, disbelief etched across his face. "It's either that or wait for them to decide our fate. We can't just stand here." With a hesitant nod, they both braced themselves. They would have to make themselves targets, hoping it would give them the chance to slip back into that open darkness that was now a trap. They began to shout, desperate cries filling the air. "Maya! We're coming back! We're here! Come to us!" The world around them felt like it was holding its breath. Abruptly, shadows coalesced, coiling towards them like a dark storm cloud rolling across the sky. The malicious laughter rang back, growing louder, reverberating through the ground, sending shockwaves of dread through their bodies. Jordan felt the darkness rippling closer, grasping, clawing at the edges of their sanity. "Run!" They bolted back toward the school, adrenaline igniting their limbs. Just as they reached the entrance, a shrieking voice ripped through the air, chilling them to the bone. "Join us!" Frantic and frayed, their lives now danced on the edge of oblivion. Suddenly, they heard footsteps behind them, a careless shuffle, then a burst of playful laughter, too familiar for comfort. "Turn around!" Ethan gasped, the terror clawing the air from his lungs. "What's coming?" As they spun on their heels, hearts pounding in thunderous synchrony, they grasped the grim truth. They were not alone, not anymore. Jordan's voice trembled. "What do we do now?" And in that moment, as the shadows lunged forward, the real horror began to unfold. The laughter grew louder, wrapping around Ethan and Jordan like a suffocating blanket. Panic surged through their veins, yet they stood frozen, muscle memory caught between fight and flight. Shadows flickered at the edges of their vision, pulling at their resolve. "Look!" Ethan shouted, eyes wide with frantic disbelief. "There's something behind us." Jordan's pulse quickened. The footfalls echoed, but these were different. Heavy, slow, and deliberate. No longer childlike, this sound was something much worse. A breathy sigh broke through the chaos, followed by another jarring laugh that twisted into something like a growl. "We can't just wait here," Jordan screamed, pushing back against the suffocating instinct to flee. "We need a plan." Ethan glanced around, eyes darting to the school's entrance, then to the surrounding trees. The laughter morphed again, becoming a cacophony of voices, hundreds of them whispering, calling. "Come play." The words dripped with malice. "Let us get inside," he yelled, shoving Jordan forward. They sprinted as one, abandoning caution for desperate urgency. As they neared the entrance, dark tendrils of shadow stretched outwards like monstrous fingers, clawing towards them, hungry for their warmth. Jordan felt the presence of dread closing in, breathing down their neck. "Faster!" they urged, feeling the chill of dark energy swirl around them. The heavy wooden door loomed ahead, slightly ajar, an ominous invitation that felt more like a snare. "It's too quiet," Ethan whispered, stopping just shy of the threshold, scanning the dark interior. "Perfect for hiding something," Jordan replied, chest heaving. "What if Maya stop?" Ethan interrupted, gritting his teeth. "We don't know what's waiting for us in there, and we can't rush in blind. We need a distraction. From the shadows of the doorframe, a flicker of movement caught Jordan's eye. Something pale and gaunt crawled along the floor, skirting the edges of the darkness, its features indistinct yet familiar. "Maya," they whispered, voice breaking, then it turned, revealing hollow eyes, an expression that was both inviting and monstrous. "Join us," the thing crooned, voice dripping with an echoing allure they couldn't shake. "No!" Ethan shouted, grabbing Jordan's arm. "That's not her. It's a trick." The real Maya's face burned in their minds, a girl with wide, joyful eyes and laughter like sunlight. But could they remember her smile through the smoky haze of despair threatening to envelop them? "We'll lose her," Jordan protested, desperation seeping in. "We can't leave her to that. We can't abandon her." "No." Ethan's grip tightened. "We're risking everything. That thing, it's trying to lure us." A cruel laugh rang out, chilling them deeper than the shadows ever could. In that moment, the darkness surged forward, like an ocean wave crashing upon helpless shores. "I'll take you to her," the voice wafted softly, and suddenly, the shadows encased the threshold like a thick fog. "Ethan! We have to run!" Ethan shouted, seizing Jordan's hand. They darted to the side, away from the entrance, but the silhouettes lunged forward, almost indiscernible in the thickening gloom. They dove behind an abandoned structure nearby, hearts racing, breaths shallow and ragged. The looming shadow wrapped around them, whispering promises of reunion, tugging at every nerve. "This won't work," Jordan gasped. "We need to find another way." Ethan scanned the area, eyes darting. A faint glow caught his eye. "That building. There's a light inside. Could be a trap." Jordan shot back, but the pleading in their own heart betrayed them. As the shadows drew close, closing in like a vice, Ethan hissed, "We either run to the light or stay here and wait to be consumed." With fierce determination, they pushed toward the glow. Just as they reached the door, an anguished scream erupted from the school behind them, a sound that echoed through their bones. "Maya!" The cry shattered their focus, wrenching them back. A single thought burned bright amid the chaos: what would we sacrifice to save her? In the looming darkness, facing the unknown ahead, Jordan took a deep breath, whispering, "We have to find her before it's too late." But as they stepped into the dimly lit room, the chilling realization sank in: whatever lay beyond was waiting for them, and it wanted much more than they'd bargained for. The door swung slowly open, creaking like a dying whisper. A cold gust of air enveloped them, filled with the scent of mildew and something else, something metallic. They stepped inside, the light casting long shadows that danced along the walls, gnawing at the corners of the room. "Keep your voice down," Ethan whispered, heart pounding as they crossed the threshold. He felt the weight of 1,000 eyes upon them, lurking in the dark spaces just beyond the glow. Jordan followed with hesitant steps, scanning the room, half expecting something to leap out. Dust motes floated in the air, catching the light like ghostly fairies. Their strange beauty only heightened his unease. Do you think Maya could be in here?" Jordan's voice quivered, doubt clinging to each word. "She might be," Ethan replied, but a knot tightened in his stomach. "We have to be careful. We can't trust anything." They moved deeper into the building, navigating between old desks and piles of decaying books. Each step sent a shiver through their bodies as the shadows pressed closer, stretching as if reaching for them. Ethan's eyes fell on a cracked blackboard, covered in chalk scrawls that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. "These weren't here before," he muttered, brow furrowing. Suddenly, a rustle echoed from the far end of the room. Both boys froze, hearts racing, breath caught in their throats. "Did you hear that?" Jordan hissed. Ethan nodded, swiping a glance at the corner where the noise had come from. "Yeah, stay behind me." Before he could take another step, a shriek, Maya's voice pierced through the uncertainty. "Ethan! Jordan! Help!" It rang out again, twisted, as if coming from nowhere and everywhere all at once. "Over there!" Jordan blurted, pointing toward a doorway at the back. The light flickered, illuminating quick flashes of movement. "It's her." Ethan bolted for the door, adrenaline flooding his veins. "Wait!" Jordan shouted, but Ethan didn't stop. He couldn't. Not when Maya's scream was still echoing in his ears. As he flung the door open, the scene beyond twisted his gut. The so-called light illuminated a small, eerily quiet corridor lined with lockers that seemed to breathe and groan as if alive. Shadows twisted and contorted on the walls. And there, at the end, stood a figure hunched over, rocking back and forth. "Maya?" Ethan breathed, dread pooling in his chest. The figure slowly turned, revealing those hollow eyes, just like the thing before. "Come closer," it beckoned, but it wasn't the warm invitation he once knew. This was a gaping maw, ready to swallow him whole. "No!" Jordan shouted, panic spilling over. He grabbed Ethan, yanking him back just in time as the figure lunged forward with a howl. "Run! Now!" Jordan screamed. As they collided again in the dark, their fear seemed to measure every second. They dashed back towards the room, breathless, an air of impending doom tightening around them. The walls felt like they were closing in, the shadows alive, hungry for their retreat. "Ethan, think. We can't go back outside. We can't." Jordan cried, desperate. "We have to find another way." Ethan rasped, making a split-second decision and veering right toward a staircase leading down into darkness. "Down there? Are you crazy?" Jordan's eyes were wide with terror. "We may have to hide. We have to." Ethan's voice strained with urgency. With no time to argue, they plunged down the creaking stairs, the air stale and damp. The step beneath them groaned, the sound echoing like a warning. Shadows flitted past, scenting their fear like blood in the water. In the suffocating blackness, Jordan felt something brush his leg like fingers grasping desperately. He stumbled back, gasping, eyes darting. "Ethan, did you see that?" "What?" Ethan turned, but the tension wrapped around their throats like a choking vine. "We need to." A loud bang reverberated from above, echoing through the stairwell and shaking the ground beneath them. The whispers crescendoed into a maddening roar, join us, desperation clawed at their throats. As the final step descended into deeper darkness, they were met by sudden silence, a void so profound it stole their breath. "Do you see anything?" Jordan whispered fearfully, squinting into the abyss. "Not yet," Ethan replied, pulse thundering. "But whatever it is, it's close." The shadows around them roared with laughter again, and suddenly the ground began to tremble. Both boys froze, every instinct screaming to flee. Ethan Jordan breathed, choking on the thick air that surrounded them, but it was too late. The darkness surged forth, consuming their cries and dragging their feet into the deep, pulling them into an expanse of eternal night, where the horror that awaited them was far beyond anything they had ever encountered. What awaited them, beyond that oppressive void? Would they discover the truth about Maya or join the shadows forever? The silence engulfed Ethan and Jordan like a heavy fog, as they plummeted into the abyss. They landed hard on cold, damp ground, heartbeats hammering in their ears. A dim glow flickered ahead, a cruel tease in the oppressive darkness. They staggered to their feet, spines stiff with fear. "We need to find Maya," Ethan urged, voice shaky. But the deeper they ventured, the heavier the shadows grew, pressing against them like a physical weight. "Right," Jordan replied, fighting the instinct to turn back, fear clawing at their resolve. They stumbled forward, drawn to the flickering light, hearts pounding. Then came the echoes, the harsh laughter swirling around them, morphing into undulating cries. "Help! Help!" The voices harmonized into a chilling symphony, each note a haunting reminder of lost souls. "What is happening?" Jordan gasped, glancing wildly around them. "It's like they're all trapped. We have to hurry." Each footfall felt heavier, struggling against growing despair as the shadow's anatomical forms twisted awkwardly in the edges of vision. As they reached the source of the light, they found it wasn't a welcoming exit but a circular chamber, walls lined with fraying photographs of students lost to time, captured in moments of laughter, golden light surrounded by darkness, a stark contradiction that twisted Jordan's gut. Each picture seemed to ripple, as if alive, taunting their existence. "Do you see her?" Ethan whispered, eyes darting. He could feel something pulling at the edges of his consciousness, something that flared like a wildfire beneath the surface, demanding he let go. "No. Focus." Jordan could see Ethan's senses unraveling, eyes glazed with fear. "We can't let them take us." Suddenly, the echoes of laughter morphed again, shifting into something more sinister. "Join us." It crept through the air, lingering and malevolent. The figures in the photographs come alive, aching, skeletal hands reaching for them, desperate for companionship. "Join us, Ethan. We can't stay here." Panic surged as the shadows coiled tighter around their legs. They needed to break free. Stepping backward, they reflexively jerked on Ethan's arm, desperate to flee from this grotesque display. "I can't," Ethan protested, his voice breaking. "They're real. We're losing her." With newfound fury, Jordan yelled, "No. She's not lost. We're going to find her." They spun around, searching for an exit, feeling the warmth of resolute determination fight back the encroaching shadows. Then, through the enveloping gloom, a flicker caught their attention, an old wooden door, splintered and weather-worn, lying enticingly ajar. "Over there," Jordan gasped, beckoning Ethan toward it. They sprinted, shadows shrieking in vain as they approached. "Go! Go!" Ethan urged, moving faster than before, the shadows clawing for every inch they gained. Jordan burst through the door, Ethan hot on their heels, into another swirling mass of darkness. The light was lost again, swallowed by the abyss as the door slammed shut behind them. "Where are we?" Jordan gasped as they stumbled into a narrow corridor, the air musty, like the remnants of old books and long-forgotten memories. "Just keep moving," Ethan managing to keep his voice steady. They took off, gripping each other's hands tight, scanning the darkness for signs of life. "Maya!" They called out, the sound echoing through the hollow halls, and then they heard the soft sound of sobbing in the distance. "Did you hear that?" Jordan asked, face alight with hope. "It could be her," Ethan replied, prompting them toward the noise, the path darkening as they drew closer. Every instinct screamed danger, yet the possibility of Maya's voice propelled them forward. Rounding the corner, they hesitated at the sight before them. Maya was there, back turned, knees drawn to her chest in a heap of shadows. "Maya!" Jordan choked out, but as she turned, the visage blurred, her eyes hollow, her expression manic, her voice an echo twisted in despair. "You shouldn't have come, you didn't listen, no," Ethan shouted, covering his ears. "This isn't her." But her voice was a twisted melody, heavy with sorrow. "Join us, we're finally free, Maya. This isn't you. Fight it." Jordan pleaded, desperation wrapping around their throat like a vice. Suddenly, something leaped out from the shadows, an entity too monstrous to comprehend, a faceless form, swirling darkness veiling whatever haunted it. "Join us!" It hissed, arms stretching out, shadows hungry for despair. Panic surged through their veins. "Run!" Jordan screamed, fighting against the dread deep in their bones as they spun on their heels. The grotesque laughter swirled behind them, chasing them down the darkened halls. Hungry to reclaim the lost, they barreled forward, their hearts pounding, tears stinging their eyes. They couldn't think about losing Maya, they needed to get out to escape this nightmare. But just then, the darkness shifted, spilling out angry whispers. "She's one of us now, let her go." "No!" Jordan yelled, desperation yanking at their heart. Ethan squeezed them tighter. "We can't keep moving." He surged ahead, leading the way toward a single beam of twisted light, realization dawning that this fight was not just for themselves but for the souls trapped in the shadows. The walls swelled, echoed cries twisting the air tighter. Yet that beam pierced, a potential salvation. A door stood before them, beckoning like a siren song, illuminated with a light that felt almost solid, promising freedom. They bolted toward it, the darkness swirling like a tempest behind them, the laughter violently crescendoing "Join us." As they lunged through the door, a shockwave of light enveloped them, flinging them backwards into a new reality, a field, a sunlit day. They sprawled on the grass, gasping for breath. "Did we make it?" Jordan questioned, turning to Ethan, wide-eyed, relief flooding them both, but then they both froze, glancing back as faint echoes surrounded them. The shadows loomed close at the edges, the remnants of the voices lingering. "You can't leave us," they whispered softly, hauntingly familiar. "We won." Ethan declared firmly, newly resolved. With every ounce of strength left, Jordan declared, "We will come back. We promise." And with that, they sprinted away from Crestwood's grasp, lungs burning, shadows screaming behind. As the weight of the memories began to fade, they would come back. They promised each other that. But for now, there was a world beyond waiting. And their lives awaited them, a light that would always shine brighter against the darkness. But beneath the surface, the shadows snickered in haunting chorus. The tales of Crestwood were far from over. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about the ending. Your voice matters. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support is what keeps us bringing these haunting tales to life.